I met Tyler the Creator when I was in college in his store where you're not allowed to touch anything, you're not allowed to take pictures, and this white mom and daughter had just asked him for a picture and he said no. And then he spotted me and came up and started talking to me because he'd seen my modeling photos and he said that he liked them. Now, I was shocked, as you might be, as a young girl with a pop star coming up to you saying they know you. I was at a loss for words. He said this conversation is going nowhere, turned around, ended the conversation. One of the most devastating moments of my life at that time, though I understood it. But watching him get dragged for this D'Angelo comment section situation is reminding me of what I would call don't tap the glass. He really means that. He means don't mess up the t-shirts, don't tap the glass, don't interfere in a way where you think that you deserve to interfere, that you deserve to touch the t-shirts, that you deserve to take a picture with him, that you deserve to have a moment in front of him that isn't entertaining for him. Do you know what kind of people are more okay with that? I would say white people are more okay with that than like when you are somebody who has experienced culture and community. I think you want that. You want more community outreach or like sort of community care in a way where he has never really showed himself to be concerned with like, and part of it, I respect I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I'm going to do things the way I want to do them. I do think there's a bit of a lost in translation and sort of like a clinical feeling to some people that prevents him from having the kind of fan base that he wants when he's talking about D'Angelo. And like, obviously people are remembering the anti-blackness from his lyrics and t-shirts past. I didn't see some of those t-shirts before today. So there's some people who obviously are never going to mess with him because of things that he said in the past. Lots of people obviously appreciate his modern artistry. I think when I started to get into him was after all of that. I was a little bit too young to be listening to him when he came out. And then I started to get into him when I was like 16, 17, like after Cherry Bomb. And I was like, I was late. I was late to the party, but I was like, wow, this person's so creative, so inspiring to me. You know what I mean? And I respected the way that he is like breaking. He doesn't really care about genres. And he's so cool to be himself. I think the other side of it, where this conversation is coming from, because, you know, I'm seeing a lot of people say, like, all the concerts are all white. When I went to his concerts, I went to Camp Flog Gnaw like 5 times. It was always, like, so mixed and so everybody, but it was in LA. So my experience of him was always multicultural but also I was in LA. So I don't know chicken or egg. But that festival, I have to say, was really fun and affordable. I saw Erykah Badu on a Ferris wheel with a man I just met in the crowd. Like, it was a great time. For like $200 for like 2 days, maybe 3 days. And then one time I wanted to get the shoes and you could get it in a package for like it was a sale, bro. People are saying there's only white people at the concerts. For me, that wasn't true. Again, I was in LA, but I met one of the guys that I dated and he really, really broke my heart and like messed with my head at that time. And I was not dating white men at that time. I never had. And him and his friend, like his friend haunted my likes for years and years and years. And then this original man came back into my life when I was hanging out with this guy who was poly. And that night, that man told me that he loved me after this situation where the original guy that I met at Camp Flog Gnaw randomly came into this bar that we were at. And I realized I was looking at like 2 different versions of the same person. 'Cause like, they were kind of the same person, but like one was older and like just slightly different. One I did not like, and one I was always obsessed with, but he ended up not wanting me. Or I don't know. And then he would say that he did, and then he'd be like, actually, let's be friends. Whatever. He messed with my head a lot. And he was one of the first people where I was really like, you can't just, some things just don't work out. Sometimes you don't get what you want. Okay? Anyways, I met him there. His friend was like a photographer, like a famous photographer too, but for famous people. I wouldn't call him a famous photographer. I would say he's a photographer for famous people whose names I won't say so that you don't go get super specific, but I could. It is somebody who was performing there. That makes sense, right? That makes sense. I met hella people there and none of them were white. I just want to say that. It was in LA, so I'm sure if you go to a concert of his in Minnesota, it's or wherever, I don't know. I don't know. I only know that when I went, it was very diverse. So that part that I'm seeing, I'm like, you know, I was there when people booed Drake. So it was just popular culture, man. Like, people were booing Drake, but singing the songs. Oh, and I went with a guy one year who thought it was going to be Frank Ocean, and it was not Frank Ocean. But allegedly it would have been Frank Ocean, and then he quit, so it was Drake. And everybody kept trying to boo him off the stage, but then singing the songs. And I was like telling the guy I was with, like, please stop. Like, nobody is backstage. Like, no, Frank Ocean is not hiding backstage. Like, what are you all doing? Boo, boo, boo. As if, now they did set him up. They did set him up. Tyler, and this is what I'm saying. And coming back to the freaking point, he be doing this. He set the crowd up to think a certain thing. Like, he kind of, I don't know. There's sometimes a disconnect. Am I saying there's an out of touchness? Maybe. Because why did Tyler come out first, and then I think ASAP came out, and then Lil Uzi, and then Drake? So that's a bad estimate. Because you're thinking that people are obviously going to be like, oh, Drake's headliner. A misunderstanding of the black fans. That's what I'm getting at. Do you see what I'm saying? And sort of no, this will work because I want it to. Even though I've done no outreach, he likes to surprise. No, okay. As somebody, now my credentials are, I went to Camp Flog Gnaw when I was in college every year. He always has a surprise guest, and it's always a disappointment. And he does it every time. Because he thinks, no, but I want it to work, so it's gonna work. And every single time, he's upset with the fans for being upset, but you set him up. And every single time somebody starts a rumor, Frank Ocean's coming, Frank Ocean's coming, it's never gonna be Frank Ocean. And he knows that, and I know that, and the people know that, but they don't want to know that, and he refuses to know that they don't want to know that in a way that's gonna make him know. He's gonna be annoyed every time, but he keeps doing it. And I feel like that's similar to D'Angelo because he's like annoyed with the fans, and it's like, bro, you're setting it up. It's a set, and do you know what I'm saying? And every single time he's like, but why? And it's like, because you set it up that way. Sorry, I'm like, I hated the surprise guest because every time people would be like, oh, it's not Frank Ocean. Boo, boo. And then it ruins the show. You could have just said, hey, Drake's coming. You could have just said, hey, it's Mac DeMarco. One year it was Mac DeMarco. You could say, hey, it's not going to be Frank, and I'm going to stop doing this setup where everybody thinks it's Frank because clearly it's not working. But yeah, I don't know. There's a correlation in my head to don't tap the glass, don't touch the t-shirts. This conversation is going nowhere, so I'm going to leave now. Surprise guest is never who you want it to be. There's a correlation between these things because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And I think that probably I wouldn't be so crazy to say that, like, there's something, I don't like throwing out the words anti-black. But there's something that is probably going to be off-putting. It's off-putting to me, and so I would say it's probably off-putting to many people in the community that, like, why is a $40 t-shirt untouchable? Give me a reason. It's $40. It's a $40 t-shirt. If I can't touch a $40 t-shirt, what can I touch? And what is the, like, there's something, I don't know. Maybe I'm just, like, unnecessarily bothered by because I bought a t-shirt. Like, I bought a t-shirt. It was $45 with tax. That's not enough. Sorry, my TV turned on. That's not enough for all this hoopla. And we let, like, 2 people into the store at a time. And there's a huge line out the block so it looks like exclusive. And then you have your favorite white boy at the front shouting the rules.